We're going to talk in this segment about the rush to attack Syria in response to the Assad government's alleged use of chemical weapons. It took an unusual turn in the debate this week with President Obama. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
After careful deliberation, I have decided that the United States should take military action against Syrian regime targets. This would not be an open-ended intervention. We would not put boots on the ground. Over the last several days, we've heard from members of Congress who want their voices to be heard. I absolutely agree.
All right, so Obama he has sent it out to hand it off the ball to Congress. Next week there should be a vote about that, and indications are that no matter how the vote goes, he has planned to go forward with the bombing anyway, but that's where we stand right now. We're in the debate in Congress process, and I wanted to ask you, Paul, why are we doing this potentially? Not the debate in Congress, but the bombing in Syria. What do you think is the real reason? Is it to punish the Syrian government for using chemical weapons? Is it because our credibility is on the line with the red line talk? Or is it because we want to support the rebels? Or is there some, you're going to go off the board?
Yeah, totally. It's because of the PNAC doctrine of 1997. It is exactly in line with exactly what the neocons wanted to do in the region to maintain American hegemony for the 21st century. It's exactly, there is no difference between George W. Bush and President Obama when it comes to foreign policy and it comes to supporting the PNAC doctrine. I mean, if we look at what's happened here, Iraq is Iraq has already happened. Syria is next in line. The sights are set on Iran. Lebanon, Jordan are already in disarray. I mean, it's the 7 targets of the PNAC, and there is absolutely no indication that we're going to veer from that. And that's exactly why this is happening.
Did you buy any of this, the chemical weapons
stuff?
I
buy none of it. It is part of the agenda, and whether or not Obama would have engaged the PNAC doctrine is irrelevant. The point is, we are so deep into it that there is no way out except forward.
So you think we're following a plan that was established long ago, and this is all part of the...
Absolutely. It's been overarching for 10, 15 years now, and it's not going to change unless there is some huge, huge paradigm shift in this country and in our political scenario. This has all been targeted. It's all... read the PNAC, you will predict the next 10 years of international conflict that America is involved in.
All right, so Emma, this is Paul is saying that it's all baloney. There's no chemical weapens, or maybe there are, there aren't. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's just we're following this as a script, sort of. And you're an actress.
I've worked with Obama many times. He's very talented.
Remember that big bombing Syria scene you had with him?
So
I don't know how you fake those videos, though, of people being shaking violently and vomiting, and obviously have no...
No, I'm not saying that didn't happen, but it's irrelevant. That's not why we're making these decisions.
To me, when you displace that many children and people in general, I don't know.
Let's
obviously
go around the world and see all the times we did not get involved.
Let her finish, come on.
War would never be my first option of choices of things to do, but I think in this case, if you draw a red line, as he's done, and maybe that's not the smartest thing always to do, but that is very clear that that's what they said. It's even clearer that this probably happened as many as 8 times prior to this on smaller levels, and then it just increased, and now it's on, 1,500 people in Damascus. I think that you can't continue to let that go on for that long. I think somebody needs to do something. I don't know if the agenda is very clear of what we hope to accomplish, whether it seems they say no boots on the ground. They don't even want to get Assad out of power necessarily, that it's more just to teach him a lesson. Like we've all agreed internationally, you're not allowed to do that to people. You've done it, and now internationally we're all supposed to do something about it. So,
but we're not.
And we don't
apparently it's what I've heard is diplomatically behind the scenes. That's what this 9 days about going to Congress is to give them time to get their shit together and get the chemical weapons out of the country, and then maybe we'll back off. But if not, then we'll do targeted strikes, not meant to threaten his regime so that he doesn't then try to, attack Israel or go in with Russia and Iran or whatever.
All right, so Daniele, you agree? You think that? What do you think is driving our policy in Syria here? We got Paul who says it's all bullshit. We got Emma who says she believes the president and thinks that this is the right thing to do. What about you?
I tend to go on Paul's end a little more. Not that I actually agree with what you're saying in terms of when you see that kind of horror, the fact that somebody should do something about it.
It's been going on around the world.
But
we haven't
exactly.
Been engaging in
that's the problem. Is the reason why I'm suspicious of the Syrian thing is if you're going to hold that line, then where have you been for the last 60 years over Tibet? If you really want to prevent human rights abuses, massive genocide, and so on, start a war with China. Is that what we're doing? Clearly not. Or there's, a long list of situations where we could and should intervene if that was our priority, and we don't. We intervene where there's oil, we intervene where there are other political issues that, oh, look, there are dead children, but, that's not the reason why we do it. Having said that, I do think that in cases like when there are obvious and terrible human rights abuses, there should be some kind of intervention. But that's something that you can do as one nation alone, saying we take the charge despite the fact that the United Nations is not behind it. At least in theory, that's what the United Nations is for. So that's where the diplomatic ball has to get rolling and trying to get other nations on board and trying to see what you can do with Russia and China blocking those type of decisions. That's what you have to do. You can't just say, well, United Nations said no, but screw it, we'll do it anyway, despite the fact that no one else is on board.
France, they're on board.
France is maybe on board.
Yeah, but that's the other thing.
Nobody else is on board, as we were saying.
You forgot about Poland.
I mean, even Britain isn't on board, and Britain has been, America's sidekick for forever, for hundreds of years now.
Are we arguing about the intelligence? Is that why they're not on board? Because we've all made the decision as a global community. If someone does that, there are consequences to that. So then the question that Russia's saying they're still not sure about whether the intelligence is correct, and they don't think they did it. So you're assuming the intelligence
I'm
is
skeptical
correct.
of the intelligence as well, because we don't. I mean, the intelligence that a chemical weapons attack occurred is pretty good, but the notion that we're sure that the Assad regime was behind it or that they asked for it.
They have phone calls of Assad's brother doing that.
They deny it.
We're often coming off of this charade of a war that was based on false intelligence and hyperinflated threats and what have you. I mean, we're like the boy who cried Wolfowitz at this point.
Well, that's the question. Do we have any credibility? Well, first of all, do we have credibility to be talking about, oh, there's a country in the Middle East that has chemical weapons, so we better go attack them? And the other question is, do we have, well, there's three. One other question is, do we have the right to do this? Because if you're saying, well, Syria is committing a war crime by using chemical weapons on its people, then we need to go and bomb them, which is the United States bombing without UN approval a sovereign nation, which is also a war crime. So it's a war crime.
All rhetorical. The United States is guilty of so many war crimes by all international war crime standards.
You didn't even let me get to number three, Paul, which is that during the Iraq War, the first Iraq War, we used depleted uranium, which is still causing birth defects. We used white phosphorus in Fallujah that is horrible. The long-term effects on the people of Fallujah is devastating and disgusting. So, Agent Orange, of course, that may predate the.
First of all, I don't understand what the difference is between killing people by chemical weapons or killing them as collateral damage in a righteous invasion. I mean, it's all rhetoric. It's all rhetoric.
But you think it's all bullshit anyway?
There is an agenda. There is a political agenda. It's not even mysterious. This is not conspiracy theory nonsense. It's all put right out there, and you can chart it one to one. You can see it happening. Somebody has published what is essentially the overarching global military policy of the United States for the next century. It's all right there, and we have not deviated one iota from any of it.
All right, well, before we wrap up, we have the vote in Congress next week. We don't know what's going to happen, but I want to get everybody's McLaughlin Group type predictions on whether Congress is going to approve the strikes. I'll begin with you, Daniele.
Well, I mean, the funny thing about American politics is whoever does something, you're going to have the people on the other side who say the opposite. I remember when the Syria's video first came out, there were all the conservative comments on Yahoo and something all saying, Obama is a wimp because he should do something about it. Now that he is, they're all going to go, screw it, if Obama is doing it, then it must be wrong. Right. So, I mean, it's the nature of the political game that whatever party is doing something, the other guys are going to argue the opposite. So in that case, I don't know if he's going to have enough votes to get it through, just because I think he's going to have a lot of opposition.
You guess a no. Paul?
Well, I can't really predict because half of the warmongering Republicans are opposed and half of the peace-loving Democrats are for it. Right. So, but ultimately it's all irrelevant because it's going to go ahead no matter what happens.
Okay, so you're not going to you're not going to make a prediction?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Paul is
didn't matter the first time.
Speaking of wimpy, not going to make a prediction.
My prediction is it's going to happen no matter what.
And what do you think? You think he's going to get the?
I think we're going to get involved.
Okay,
That would
I
be
think
my
we
prediction.
probably are also, but it is curious because, as you point out, it's like for the Republicans, which is stronger? How much you hate Obama or how much you love war?
Right.
You know, it's the devil on both shoulders, you know,
age-old
sort of
question.
thing. Personally, I don't really know that Assad is so bad. It's not like he did something really horrible like twerking at the VMAs. I mean, that would have been unconscionable.
That would get me interested more.